Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Abarna and in today's video we are going to see how to build a countdown timer using JavaScript. So first let me start with the demo. This is a project that we're going to build today. You have the heading that says this is a sale, this countdown timer which goes on for every second. We'll see how to design this and build this kind of app with the coding. I'll open the brackets. Inside the brackets I have an image file for the background. I'm going to create 3 new files. The first one is index.html. The second one is for the style sheet, style.css. And the third one is script.js for the JavaScript file. So first I'm going to start by HTML head and body tags inside the index.html. So I'll start HTML, head, and body tag. Now I'm going to give a link to the CSS file in the head tag. Link. I'm sorry, I'll spell this a bit. Alright, and I'm going to give a link to the JavaScript file inside the body. So there you go. So now that I've linked everything, let's start with the design. So if you see the final page here, you have a heading, you have the days, hours, minutes and seconds text for that, and then you have the actual countdown, one for the days, one for hours, one for minutes and one for seconds. So this is exactly what we're going to do, the HTML part, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to cover the entire section under a div called home. Inside that, I'm going to give a heading called Electronic Monday Sale. I'm going to give that under a h1 tag. I'm going to give this an ID called Heading Sale. Electronic Monday Sale. Right. And then you have this heading, days, time, days, hours, minutes and seconds. So the next that I'm going to include that inside a div section called time. And I'm going to say div class is equal to frame. I'm going to give that days. And I'm just going to copy that, paste it 4 times. I'll change the content. Days, hours, mins, sec. Alright. Now for the actual timer, I'm going to enclose that under a div section called clock. And I'm going to give each and every number here and section it under a div class called number. So div class is equal to number. And I'm going to give this one under another div. So I'll explain the reason for this later, but right now just stick with this. Alright, so I'll just copy this code again and create a timer. Yes, we need more. Alright, now I've hit save, and I'll use the live preview option right here to see the output as we code. So there you go, you got all that in the div. That's why it comes one beneath the other and not like horizontally. So now that we have done that, let's go to style sheet and start styling it. I'm going to go to the style.css, and starting with this, I'm going to give the body, I'll set the margin to 0, padding 0. Alright. I'm going to start with the home, the entire screen. So the width is going to be 100%, the height is going to be 100 viewport height, and the background is going to be the background image that I already stored, bg image.jpg. I'll hit save, and we'll see the output. That's right, the background is on a different size, so we need to mention the background size here for this. We'll say background size is 100% height and 100%. There you go. And you don't see the text because it's all in black. We need to change the color for that. So let's do that. Color white or hashtag FFF. And you can see the content now. Now starting, I'm going to set the display flex because I want all the content vertically center and horizontally center. It's the easiest way to do that is through Flexbox. So as soon as I do this display flex, you can see everything, all the div elements come one next to another. So if you remember, we have a h1 tag, a div with this content, another div with this content. That is the children of the parent home section. So all the children comes one next to another horizontally. We can change that by giving the flex direction as column. Once you do that, it goes back to how it was. Now I'll say justify content center. It comes vertically center now, and I'm going to say align items center, and it goes horizontally center. Super easy. All right, so with that, we've designed the home section. Let's go to the heading section, heading sale. I think that's the name I've given, right? That's right, heading sale. All right. So for this h1 tag, I want the font size to be 5 viewport height or viewport width. So I have given the font size as 5 viewport width. So if I go to this browser window, you can see the font size has been increased, and that's been highlighted because we use the brackets. Now, if I reduce the screen size, you can see it gets adjusted to it. You don't have to write a separate code to make your header page responsive or anything. So for that matter, I have given the size in terms of viewport width. So if this, as the screen increases, the size increases. So that's a concept. Let's take the mobile view and I expand it to the laptop view and move on. I'm going to give this a margin bottom of 10 viewport height. Again, I mention all this in viewport height because it would be much easier for us to view the same thing in the mobile screen as well. There you go. All right, moving on. Now let's start with this days, hours, minutes, and seconds. That is hashtag clock. First, I'm going to set the display flex because I want everything one next to another. So I'm sorry, what happened? Oh, I've given this time, my bad. It's actually time, my bad. Alright. Now if you see, all the texts are one next to each other. Basically, if you set the parent class as flex, all the children element come one next to another. That's the case. If you are new to Flexbox, you have no idea about that, I have a tutorial to that. I will make sure to link that in the description box below so you can get more information about it. There's a detailed tutorial on Flexbox. Moving on. So here I'm going to set the color as gray because I don't want it to be focused too much. I'm going to set the font size as 5 viewport height maybe. I'm going to set the width as 85 viewport width. Now if you see this, this is the width now, and if I reduce it, still the width will be like this. So it's kind of responsive now. They stick together, they are not spread out towards the entire length, right? So to do that, we can say justify content space around, and now you can see they are completely separated. You wouldn't have this line. If I refresh, this line disappears. It's just the brackets just highlighting the change in your code. That's it. All right, moving on to the clock. Clock. So here I'm going to again set the display flex. As you know, the time now, it's one next to another. I'm going to give this a color of RGBA 255 0.7, or you can even go ahead and set the opacity to 0.7. It works just the same. I'm going to set the font size to 12 viewport width, and we're going to give the font family as Courier New, Courier monospace. Yeah, this is exactly the font that I want. Alright, so with that, this design is completed. Alright, and it's responsive as well. So now let's go ahead and do the timer part. To do the timer part, you need to go to this link, GitHub Helios jQuery Countdown. I'll mention the link in the description box below, so make sure to check that out in the description box. And if you come here, this is kind of a plugin for Countdown. It's written in jQuery, so we need to import that as well. So now if you go down here into the source folder, you have this countdown.js file. You can either download this file or like me, I just copy the entire thing and paste it in a file and name it as jQuery. I mean countdown.js. So I'm just going to copy this whole thing, create a new file here, save it as countdown.js. I'm going to paste this whole thing here. Alright, after you've done that, save it, and I'm going to import that in the index.html. So I'm going to import that all the way down. I'm going to take the script file as well, and I'm going to put that all the way down so our page loads faster. And then I'm going to load the countdown.js as well. So I need to do that first, and then the script.js needs to be loaded. Alright, because we're going to refer some plugins from the countdown.js, so we need to import that before we import our code. And before we import the countdown.js, we need to import jQuery because it's written in jQuery. We need that. So search for jQuery CDN, and it's jQuery CDN. and I usually get it from W3 Schools. It's easier for me to find the link that way. Copy the Google CDN and paste it. Paste it right before the countdown.js. There you go. Alright, once you are done with that, let's go to the script.js and start coding. Now, right, if you go back to the file that I've, to the link that I've given you for the countdown.js, if you come down, go to the link and come down, you have the examples. So go ahead and click that. Go to the advanced coupon site to view the examples and just copy the entire code right here. Copy and paste it. So I've given the clock as clock, so it can see that, although it's not necessary now for us. So okay, so instead of saying this .html, that means it is going to print the value on the clock. In our clock div class we have other stuff, so I'm going to delete this whole thing and I'm going to change that as console.log. Alright, and this is on finish countdown what needs to happen, so we're not going to deal with that right now. So I'm going to delete this whole stuff up. Alright, yep, that's it. Alright, now let's save this and refresh this. Go to inspect.element, go to console tab, and you can see you have the timer running up every second, countdown. So that's it. Now all we need to do is animate the way we want. So let's go ahead and animate it. First of all, you have this weeks, which we do not want. So I'm going to remove the weeks. There you go. I'll just remove the weeks. Say some Control S. And now I'm going to refresh this page and see for the inspect.element. Now the weeks is disappeared. So you have days, hours, minutes and seconds. That's all you have. And this is the time that they have given default. So yeah, you can change that. So I'm going to declare a variable called now, and I'm going to give this one as the date, except I'm going to mention this as 2019. Alright, and here I would give now. You don't even need this on update countdown function. Just you can delete this whole thing and say now and your inline function. This is just enough. Right, now you save it, you go back, refresh. I mean, you don't have to refresh, it's a live update. So there you go, you have it. Now I'm going to remove this day because I don't want that. Save. If you see, now the day is gone. I'm going to print the same thing in the format that we have given, like this. So do inside this, I'm going to give an if condition. If it is greater than 10 days, then this is the format that we're going to use. Alright, else we will add a 0. Days is greater than 10, then we just need the day to be printed, followed by colon and the format. Format is the hours, minutes and seconds. So, and if the offset total days is less than 10 days, like say 2, 5 or something like that, the one that is in our example, we need that to be preceded by a 0, the number of days, colon and the format containing the hours, minutes and seconds. Let's save this and we'll see here, and you have it. you have a space, so let me delete that one too. Click save and see. Now the format is exactly how we wanted it to be. Alright, now let's go ahead and animate this whole thing. So to animate, first of all we need to add the CSS for this. So I'm going to animate this in CSS and then add some JavaScript for this. To do that, first we need to go to the style.css file, and I'm going to create an animation for this. So for that, .move, I'm going to give animation move ease in out, and I'm going to need that within 1 second infinite times. Alright, now let's define this move animation. Add keyframes, keyframes move from transform. So if you see the animation in my example, I'm going to show you our example. So if you see, the letters go up a little bit and the one that is down, it comes up. So we kind of need the numbers to go up a little bit. That's what we want. So what we're going to do, we're going to set the from as transform translate y, because we want the numbers to go towards y-axis horizontally. So 0 from that to transform translate y 25 VH. Alright, now if you see here, the line doesn't go up 25 VH right here, it just goes to some height, not entirely. So that we're going to define it in here. Alright, inside the clock we're going to give a standard height for it. I'm going to give the height as 20 VH. So it doesn't go beyond that. I'm going to give the line height as 21 VH. And I'm also going to mention the overflow as hidden. This is very important because the numbers would go up and the numbers that is coming down, it just looks very weird looking. So you need to mention the overflow hidden property, very important. Now and then I'm also going to set the position to relative. So now that we have done all this, let's go to the script.js and do the JavaScript code. With that, I'm going to give where now. Before that, I'm going to give where last would be 00 00 00 00 00. This is going to be our last. This was what we had in our web page, and this is the time that we need to count down to. So we have these two information right here, and if you see, the format now has the format not in this format, but in this format. Now that we are giving that as an output, that is what is going to happen. So I'm going to store this in a variable called now. I'm going to change the variable like this, and I would call up a function called animate time. I'll pass the last and the now values, and then I'm going to set the last as now. Alright, so I think you get it here. Maybe if I console.log, you'll understand. Last, give some space in between, and then I'll print the now. So if you see this, this is I refresh this. Sorry, animate time is not defined, so I need to define the function now. I'll comment that, and if you see here, this is the previous time and this is the current time, if you can see, right? So now all we need to do is animate this. So how do we animate here? The idea to this is that we find the difference between each and every individual numbers. If there is a difference, it needs to do the move animation. So now if you have these two numbers right here, go here, if you see these two numbers, if you just take random two numbers, you have difference in the seconds. So the second number would get updated. If there's any difference in the minutes, this number would get updated. Similarly, so each and every number would get updated. That's what we are going to try. That's what we are going to try to do. So let's go ahead for function animate time with two variable last. Now, so we're gonna check each and every number. So for variable I equals 0, I less than now dot length I plus plus. Since I have made it stringify time, this is already in a string format, so you don't have to make it a string again, so that's not required. Now, if last of I is not equal to now dot I, then you need to animate that thing, right? So here I'm going to create another function called animate I comma now of I. The position that I want and the new integer that I want to update it to. So let's go ahead and set the function animate index comma number that I want to update. So where element, I'm going to get all the elements that are having the div class as number. So document dot get element by class name number, and you get that particular number with the index. So suppose the seconds is changed, our index would be the last digit. So we get, so the number that is changed is this div element. That is how we get it. And then we can say where second, we're gonna clone this element, change it and delete the original element. So first off, let's clone this element, last element child dot clone node of true. So by doing this, you get a replica of this element. So say the last element is what I want. The last element that I want. Now I got the replica of this element. Now that I got, I'm going to change that. I'm going to set the inner HTML value for that as our new number that we want to change. And then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add this move animation, and I'm going to remove this animation because you don't want to be like infinitely looped around. So after 500 milliseconds, I want this to stop so that it stops to displace, and then we will remove the previous element out. So this sounds very confusing, but I'm going to show it right now. So element dot. So first I'm going to append the second element to our element. Now if you see, this element already has an element and the second element. So this is the reason why I have given a div section inside this div class. So now it has a child here and then another second child. Alright, now to the second child we are going to add the animation. Now I'm going to add the move animation to this by adding the class called move. I have created, if you remember in the style.css, I have created a class called move that contains just the animation. So I'm going to add that class to our element, and I'm going to give a set timeout function. Inside that, an anonymous function that says element.remove element dot that would remove this animation, element dot classless dot remove move. So now after 500 milliseconds, this move class is removed. Now if I save this, this is what you see. So the class is added, but it is overridden by the previous value. So we need to remove that previous value. How we can do that? Again, use the same set timeout function, and then you remove the previous class. Previous element. So remove child. We need to remove the first child. The second child is the new value, so we need to remove the first child. So I'm going to say first element child. After we're done that, if you go to this file, you can see it works completely fine. I'm going to remove the console.log because we don't need that anymore. Save it. Yeah, close the file as well. And there it is, the countdown timer, and you have the rotating timer animation when the countdown happens. This is how you design a countdown function in JavaScript. Hope you liked this video. If you like me to make more of such videos or talking videos or tutorials, please let me know in the comment section down below. Give me a thumbs up if you liked this video, and subscribe to CodeSpot to more such videos. Thank you so much for watching.